the testimony this morning. Members, that will take us to item number 17, which is the item that was pulled. Councilmember Velasquez, I'll recognize you first on the item.
Is this comments for?
Well, actually, I want to go ahead and go to speakers, but I wanted to make sure if somebody wanted to speak.
Oh, we can go to speakers first.
Okay, very good. Please, let's go to the speakers. Members of the public, what we will do is we'll have the clerk call out the names of the people that have signed up to speak on this item. Just like we did with the consent agenda, she will call 3, 4, or 5 at a time. Please go ahead and make your way forward. We will do this until right at noon. We will hear public testimony on item 17 until right at noon. At noon, we will break, around noon, we will break to go to our time certain. And as I indicated, we will probably recess at 12:30 to 12:35 and come back at 1:10 or so to continue. I don't anticipate we'll be finished with the public testimony on item 17 by noon, but I just want to make sure everybody's familiar with the way we'll approach that. So with that, I'll turn to you.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have several remote speakers, so I'll start there. Jessica Mayer, item 17.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I have lived off Audubon Place next to the proposed navigation center since 2007. We found out about this possible purchase about a month ago. I've attended 2 of the online meetings with the HSO, and I've written a letter to each of you on the council. Though I believe I speak for everyone when I say we want solutions in regards to helping affected folks get back on their feet, I don't feel that the HSO has adequately answered our neighborhood concerns, even when asked directly. In the last 3 years, we have seen a rise in public drug use, loitering, panhandling, crime, and murder. Our neighbor Ian put together a comprehensive press release with all the murders within 2 miles in the last few years, and it's extensive. We are concerned that we don't know which organization would run the center and if we would have recourse if the situation is exacerbated because of it. We have children in the neighborhood who attend Travis Heights Elementary School and high school, and we're concerned even more for their safety. We were not told where the other sites under consideration are located, but if this is truly the best and only solution the city could find, we would like assurances before any vote passes that the city is willing to invest in all of the constituents, like instituting a local police hub on East Old Torf and an extension of the ban on panhandling from downtown. I read the statement from Mayor Watson yesterday and do not agree that a vote to postpone kicks the can down the road. This can was just dropped on us, and we have not had adequate time to respond or enough explanation as to why this is the only site that will work. Please either vote no or to postpone the vote until these issues can be addressed. Thank you.
Lynn Williams. Lynn, are you there? Nicole Friday. Nicole, are you there? Audra Rodriguez.
Hello, yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Audra Rodriguez, and I am a native Latina Austinite and a longtime resident of the Old Shorth and Parker area near Heritage Oaks Park. I am writing to provide you a unique and critical perspective regarding the proposed navigation center location. I myself was once an at-risk youth in this community. My journey involved attending Travis High School, dropping out my senior year, and falling into a life that included substance abuse and crime. At 17, I became pregnant. My path towards stability began 15 years ago when I enrolled in American Youth Works program, catching the bus at the very corner of Parker and Old Torf. Today, I'm 34 years old, and I am fortunate enough to have successfully transitioned away from that difficult chapter. My daughter is now a high school student, and I observe with profound concern that the streets I once roamed are demonstrably less safe for her generation. The reason I provide this background is to highlight a crucial and often overlooked point. If I, a youth struggling with profound challenges, faced significant risk here 15 years ago before any such center was proposed, what is the heightened risk that this facility will bring to the students currently attending nearby schools? I am deeply concerned that this proposal will only compound the existing vulnerabilities of an already at-risk community. While operational hours and internal security are important, the community level impact occurs when the center closes. Patrons will be released into the surrounding residential areas, increasing the concentration of individuals experiencing homelessness and addiction in the immediate vicinity of bus stops, parks, and walking routes to children used to communicate to and from school. Proceeding with the purchase of this specific location will intensify public safety concerns that are already straining the neighborhood. I implore you to consider the tangible consequences for our youth. I ask you
Thank you.
you very
Time
much.
has expired.
that you hold the safety.
Hayden Denham.
Thank you. Mayor Watson, council members, my name is Hayden Denham. Thank you for the opportunity to express my support for moving the Navigation Center to the proposed new location at Old Torf and I-35. I'm specifically supporting the new larger location because it will definitely better serve the neighbors experiencing homelessness. The bigger facility allows more clients to be served more safely and more efficiently. Plus, it will provide space for expanded programming and on-site support services. Structured programs help to move clients into permanent or transitional housing quickly, and on-site clinicians, substance use counselors, and primary care connections will dramatically reduce public health risk for these individuals. Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston have shown that low barrier navigation centers with strong operations reduce neighborhood impacts, while more importantly, improving client outcomes. After all is said and done, that is the main goal here, improving their success rate. And I believe having the current location right directly across the street from an elementary is not acceptable, and I think we all agree that. I ask for each of your support in approving this relocation. Thank you for your time and understanding.
Diane Quinones.
Hi there, my name is Diane, and just want to thank y'all for taking this opportunity to hear us, but I want to express my strong support for the Navigation Center at I-35 in Old Torf. It's a location that truly meets the goals and standards this city has set for helping our neighbors in experiencing homelessness. This site simply makes sense. It's close to essential resources and services that are already part of Austin's homeless response network. Being located near a major transit corridor means clients can reach medical care, job assistance, and other programs more easily, helping them take real steps forward towards stability and housing. It's also important to note that this location is not next to a neighborhood school. It sits across from I-35 from Travis High School, providing a safe and appropriate level of separation while still maintaining accessibility. The building itself is larger and far better suited for this purpose than the current Sunrise location. It will allow everyone to receive services indoors rather than waiting outside, which improves both client dignity and community safety. This is a well thought out, evidence-based decision by the Homeless Strategy Office. This site checks all the boxes: access, safety, transit, connectivity, and proper infrastructure. I urge the council to support this location and move the project forward. This is our chance to make a compassionate, practical choice, one that works for the entire community and gives people experiencing homelessness a real opportunity to rebuild their lives. Thank y'all so much for taking the time to hear us.
Emily Jablon.
You may need to call the name again.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hello. Hello. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak today. I also oppose the relocation of the Navigation Center for homeless. I am concerned that it is too close to schools such as Travis Heights High School, and we have young children living in the area. Also, I've already seen encampments in Blum Creek, which is a popular hiking spot for families, and I don't feel safe walking there alone because I am concerned about predators. And I do believe that we need a location that can service these people. And my suggestion is to have it be more located closer to businesses, so that there's less proximity. I also encourage the city to look at ways to reduce recidivism. So if there are ways that are science-backed to help treat the trauma that a lot of these individuals have experienced in childhood, including abuse and neglect, that I would encourage the city to adopt those avenues and to invest in science-backed treatment such as EMDR to help treat the root cause of the behavior that leads to homelessness. Thank you so much for hearing me today, and I wish you a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole Friday.
Hi, council members. As president of the Greenbrier East Altorf community, whose neighbors would share a fence with the homeless routing center, I'm here today to strongly oppose the acquisition of the property on I-35 frontage. This site is dangerously close to schools, within walking distance for hundreds of children who travel daily on foot or by bike over the I-35 overpass. Families in our neighborhood already live with the reality of rising crime in the area, and placing a routing center here would intensify those risks. Parents should not have to choose between letting their children walk to school and fearing for their safety. We know that other more appropriate locations were investigated, such as the industrial area off of Ben White, a site that is not near schools or single-family homes. This remains the better option and should be prioritized. I also want to directly address the mayor's office most recent statement to our neighborhood. Mayor Watson's office suggested that no location will ever be perfect and that postponement is simply kicking the can down the road. With all due respect, it has been a month, and in speaking with council members Zoe and Velasquez, they agree that they have not had enough time to understand the true impact of what acquiring this property would do to the surrounding neighborhood. It's been entirely too rushed. Our neighborhood is not asking for perfection, we're asking for basic safety and common sense. Dismissing these concerns as inevitable impacts is unacceptable. If we know there are safer, more suitable sites, it is irresponsible to push forward with the I-35 frontage location simply to avoid a difficult conversation. Let me be perfectly clear, we are not against helping the unhoused individuals. We are against a decision that sacrifices the safety, security, and peace of mind of our current residents, especially our children. There are better, safer locations in Austin that do not put neighborhoods and safety schools directly in harm's way. And I urge you to reject the property acquisition and instead pursue a solution that balances compassion with responsibility to the families that you represent. Thank you.
Rob Miller.
Hello, this is Reverend Rob Mueller. I'm the pastor of missions for Shepherd of the Hills Presbyterian Church, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak in favor of item 17, the proposed plan to purchase a property at Old Torf and I-35 for the Housing and Aviation Center. Our congregation has a very long commitment to serving the sisters and brothers who are without homes. We participate in the Oak Hill Alliance of Churches, which does free shelters in the winter. We support street youth ministry, and we do 2 mobile loaves and fishes runs every single month, and that accounts for approximately $275,500 in service to a population that we would rather not have to serve this way. We'd prefer for all of these folks to not have to be served because they were living in homes. So I would like to affirm that the location that's been selected seems to be a very good choice because it's in the middle of the area that is most at risk for people becoming homeless because of eviction. And if we can avoid those folks becoming homeless in the first place, that will save an enormous amount of money for Austin area residents and for the city budget. The location provides adequate space for indoor servicing of individuals, as others have mentioned. It provides ample neighbor input and access to provide critique as the implementation occurs through both the advisory board and the community liaison that are anticipated to be put in place. The plan provides important safeguards to keep the surrounding community from experiencing problematic overflow like area patrols and transport to ensure that people return to the point of origin by vans. And it provides landscape and architectural features that will reduce the visibility of things that are unsightly. This plan also importantly gives the city a powerful voice in the manner in which these services are provided and will enable
Thank you, sir.
those services to be.
Thank you.
Alina Sanchez.
Good morning, Mayor Watson and City Council members. My name is Alina Sanchez, and I'm speaking in support of item 17. Here's what we all agree on. None of us want people living on our streets. Not conservatives, not liberals, and certainly not those experiencing homelessness. We all want safety, security, and dignity. The question is, are we willing to invest in solutions that actually work? I lived 4 years near Sunrise Navigation Center, and I'm moving to East Austin near the proposed location. I've seen real solutions work. Let me tell you about Josie. She and her 2 teenage daughters were sleeping in their car after moving back to Austin to care for her aging mother. She endured cold nights in cramped quarters, haunted by the crushing fear that she was failing her girls, but she didn't know where to turn. When Josie connected with Sunrise's Wayfinder rehousing program, everything changed. With navigation support and financial assistance, Josie and her daughters moved into their own home. Today, her daughters are back in school. That's what housing navigation does. It connects people to solutions. Or consider Rashawn, released from jail with no money, no ID, no way to contact family. He was camping in the woods, completely isolated. Sunrise's mobile outreach team found him. They listened. They learned he had family in San Antonio who missed him. By 5 p.m. that same day, they provided food, a bus pass, and a Greyhound ticket home. Rashawn made it to his brother's house for dinner. That's what navigation does. It meets people where they are and helps them take the next step. These aren't feel-good stories. They're proof that navigation centers work. The data backs this up. At Southbridge Shelter, just doors away from the proposed site, calls for police service have declined steadily over 4 years. Professional management and wraparound services don't just help individuals.
Thank you very
They
much.
strengthen neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Bridget Rafferty.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I am here not just as a concerned citizen, but as a mother and a neighbor and a witness to the unraveling of a once thriving neighborhood. Over the past 2 years, our neighborhood has begun to fall apart. The city made a decision to move encampments out of downtown without a plan. And where did they go? To neighborhoods like mine. Then the Southbridge shelter opened in our neighborhood, and while it began with a police presence, that presence has vanished. In its place, we see open drug use, loitering, and a rise in crime. I've driven past people smoking crack in broad daylight while taking my children to school. I find it interesting to hear all of your support for agenda item 24 when we do have a local coffee shop in our neighborhood, but it is no longer safe to walk to. Now the city wants to place a homeless navigation center in the same area, an area already overwhelmed. We've seen what happens when these facilities are placed without proper planning or support. They don't solve the problem, they shift it. They destabilize, they isolate, they segregate. And they do so at the expense of the very communities they claim to help. You've cited public transit as a reason for this location. Did you know it takes 45 minutes and 2 bus transfers to get here from downtown? One route passes directly in front of Travis Early College High School. Another requires an over half-mile walk past the park. The closest bus stop is 4.4 miles away, walking past restaurants and businesses. This is not accessible, and it puts both the unhoused and our children at risk. I ask you all, would you accept this in your own backyard? Would you allow your neighborhood to become the city solution to everyone else's problems? This isn't about policy, it's about people and about families. You represent the conscience of the city. I ask you to see what we see, to feel what we feel, and to understand that we are not going against solutions. We are against solutions that come at the cost of communities, safety, dignity, and future. Delay the vote, find a better location with planned solutions, because we deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Peterson.
Hi, good morning. My name is Mr. Peterson. I've lived in the area since 1994. Crime, safety has become significantly worse in the last 10 years. By opening this center, you guys are going to be adding fuel to the fire. You haven't put out the fire of the safety concerns here in this area. Some examples, I'll paint a little picture. I can't go to the convenience store without carrying a firearm with me because I get hustled or harassed at 7-Eleven or the Shell by homeless individuals. A year ago, I was shot at Heritage Oak Park by a homeless individual living in the park. This is significant concerns to me and my family. My daughter Layla currently attends Travis High School. We can't allow her to walk there because there's drug dealers at Parker and Old Torp. There's homeless individuals hustling her everywhere she goes as she walks to school. I can't even let her get on the bus to go visit her friends because she, again, has to reside at the bus stop at Parker and Old Torp. You guys are presenting fuel to the fire by opening this center. I reject the property acquisition, and I hope you do too, because we need bigger insight on what's going on with the safety concerns in this area. There's already a bunch of crime already happening in this area, and you're going to bring in more homeless people to this potential area. I myself have lived through this for multiple years. As I said, I was shot. I've been harassed. I can't go to the store without carrying a firearm. Once again, the safety concerns in this area has significantly increased, and we wish that you do not vote on this property acquisition until further research is done. That's all I have.
George Bryson.
Yeah, good morning, Mayor and City Council. I am here to speak in support of item 17. I'm George Bryson. I previously lived a few years about a mile from the Sunrise Navigation Center on Chack and Ben White. And at the end of this month, I'm moving 1 mile away, right into the backyard of this proposed site on I-35. First of all, citizenship means shared responsibility. When those committed to doing the work, standing up a homeless navigation center to help our most vulnerable neighbors, our role as citizens is to support them, just as we support first responders and those who protect our city. Secondly, the economic case is pretty clear. Studies have shown that housing navigation programs save taxpayers between $15,000 to $30,000 per person per year through reduced emergency response, policing, and hospital costs. Finally, no one is being asked to sacrifice directly, only to allow progress. No neighbor is being asked to take anyone in or bear a new burden. We benefit from others who are ready to step up and do that work for us. Imagine if in the parable of the Good Samaritan, someone had stepped in to stop him, to say helping that injured man might be inconvenient or uncomfortable. We'd recognize that as a failure of conscience. Let's not make that mistake here. Let's allow those who are committed to doing this work the opportunity to do it and to lift our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn Williams.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm sorry. My name is Lynn Williams, and I serve as the Executive Director of Homemade Austin, a nonprofit builder dedicated to creating housing and supportive opportunities for shelter and people experiencing homeless across Central Texas. So today I'm here to voice strong support for item 17, funding the proposed homeless navigation center on Old Torp. Every week, our partners tell us the same story. Families, veterans, and individuals ready to take the next step towards stability, yet they can't find a clear entry path for services. The system is complex, fragmented, and for someone in crisis, it can feel impossible to navigate. This new navigation center would change all that. It would serve as a front door, a centralized, compassionate hub where outreach teams, housing providers, case managers connect people to help that they need. We've seen the power of this model through our own work and shelter service providers, where there's a coordinated entry point. People move forward from tents to transitional housing, and from temporary beds to permanent supportive homes. Faster and far better outcomes than when they don't have a navigation service. These services provide the ability to quickly disrupt someone's descent into homelessness or to revert short-term homelessness, preventing future trauma and cost to the system. Homemade Austin stands ready to collaborate with the city and our nonprofit partners to ensure this center's success. Together, we can make homelessness rare, brief, and non-occurring. Thank you for your leadership and your continued commitment to solutions that build not just housing, but hope and human dignity.
That is all the remote speakers I have in the queue, so I'm going to transition to in-person speakers. Matthew Ewing, Andy Brower, Malcolm Yeats, Patricia Henry, Ian Dill. If your name's been called, please come down and have a seat, and then just be sure to state your name into the record.
Good morning.
Thank you.
I'm Matthew Ewing, and I live at 1135 Gillespie Place in Travis Heights. I'm here to formally oppose agenda item number 17. I first moved to Austin in 1996, and since 2008, I've lived in 78704, where my wife and I are raising our family. And over that time, I've seen Austin through a lot of growth and many cycles of policy change that have shaped this city. And one thing that I don't want to see changed is our tradition of making decisions that are measured, deliberate, and grounded in community trust. That's why I'm here today, because this decision does not meet that standard. I support the need for real long-term solutions, and I agree that Austin needs a well-run, city-operated navigation center. But urgency cannot substitute for due diligence, and a rushed purchase without a clear plan doesn't accelerate solutions. It risks setting them back through mismanagement, public mistrust, and future litigation. And a sound process is what gives hard decisions legitimacy. The Homeless Strategy Office has said that this is still in the early stages, yet the city is moving ahead with buying the property before a scope of services is defined, before an operator is identified and vetted, and before any meaningful community outreach and community agreement has taken place. If this were truly early, we wouldn't already be voting to spend more than $4.3 million in taxpayer funds on a property whose purpose and plan remain undefined. This proposal effectively relocates an existing navigation center, which is the current site that's faced serious management issues and even state litigation. The city and HSO have said that this new center will be different because it is city-owned and that the city will select and oversee a future operator, but that assurance is not backed by evidence. I acknowledge the professionalism of this staff and the difficult work they do every day, but they have not proven through the recent termination of the contract with Urban Alchemy that they are in a position to support the plan. So, just quickly, good neighbor agreement, please.
Thank you.
A public safety plan,
Thank you, sir.
please. And a vetted operator
Sir, your
selected
time has
through the transfer
expired.
process.
Thank you.
you very much.
Please. Welcome.
To me?
Yes.
Hi,
State your name for the record.
I will.
Okay.
I'm Patricia Ornelas Henry. I live in the neighborhood directly behind the proposed site. My family has been there since 1967. I went to Travis Heights, Linder, Fulmore, and Travis High. Mayor Watson, I'd like to address a few items in your council forum post from yesterday, recommending not to postpone this item. You said in part that you believe people are putting the needs of our constituents first to better serve the needs of Austin when it comes to our homeless population. How about putting the safety needs of our school-aged children, businesses, and neighborhoods first? We are your constituents, and we are already overwhelmed by vagrants, panhandlers, and people who are obviously under the influence in this area. And it's just going to get worse by rushing this decision that clearly hasn't been thought out. You said that you firmly believe that you can run a nav center that considers the logistical and safety concerns of the neighborhood. Firmly believing that you can do something and actually being able to do so are two very different things. Also, the real concerns of our neighborhood have not been addressed yet. They are not even being heard or acknowledged. Why? Because there hasn't been enough time to have our voices heard. You said kicking the can down the road doesn't really make a hard decision any easier. No location will ever be perfect. Seriously, Mayor, kicking the can down the road? We have a saying here in Texas. You may have heard it. That saying is, don't mess with Texas, which means we pick up that can, we dispose of it properly in an environmentally friendly way. We're not asking for perfection.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate your being here. Why don't you go next, and then we'll come to you, sir.
Good morning. I'm Andy Brower. I'm with Central Presbyterian Church and I operate the Neighbors Program. I'm also representing the Homeless Advocacy Project. We support item 17. I want to agree with what Mayor Watson said yesterday. We have been kicking this can down the road for year after year after year because it's always, we want them to help. We just don't want we don't want it near us. And I'm speaking out for the thousands of people who are homeless in Austin that need more resources but aren't as organized to come out and speak up about it today. I want people to remember also that 25% of our homeless people are families. This effort would help serve more families in the area, not make things worse for them. I want to help get kids off the street however we can. There are 1,800 homeless children in AISD. I know that there are concerns. I know there are fears. I want to say that I think some of them are fear of the unknown and some of them are fear about optics. There is an assumption that people who are homeless are dangerous, and the statistics show that they are more likely to have a crime committed against them rather than be committing a crime themselves. In fact, the murders that were mentioned earlier, I'm guessing those were not committed by someone that was homeless. So I don't want rhetoric out there and misunderstanding about our neighbors. I trust our homeless strategy officer. They do excellent work. They've done the hard work. They've held the hearings. They have listened. We've had much opportunity. And they said this is the best place, and I trust them. I trust that they will do right by the community. I know they will have security. I know they will do all they can to keep everybody safe. Because when we stand up and support our neighbors, then everybody in our community will win. So instead of thinking about attracting people to this neighborhood, let's think about we're going to attract people, help them, and help them reintegrate to be productive members of our society that can have stable lives. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. You'll go and then you.
My name is Malcolm Yates. I'm the chair of the East Riverside Old Horf Combined Contact Team. The EROC Contact Team voted to oppose the location of the proposed Homeless Navigation Center because the city has not yet convinced the residents of the East Riverside area that the city will do a better job of maintaining public order in the neighborhoods surrounding this location than they have in the neighborhoods surrounding the current Sunrise location. I am also here today to speak not only for the EROC Contact Team, but to speak for area residents who might be afraid to come here today to speak. You will hear from many parents of Travis Heights Elementary School students, but you will not hear from many parents of Linder Elementary School students. Linder is actually much closer to the proposed navigation center than Travis Heights Elementary School. It is on the same side of I-35, and the school is adjacent to Mabel Davis Park, which has a long history of homeless camps. To understand why the parents of Linder might be afraid to speak, look at the demographics of Linder School and the area that it serves. Almost 80% of Linder Elementary and Travis Heights students are Hispanic. The Linder and Travis serve the apartment complexes along Burton, Royal Crest, and Willow Creek. This area has the highest percentage of foreign-born residents in Austin. The students of Travis and Linder will have the highest probability of encounters with mentally ill clients of the Navigation Center, but their parents might be afraid to report incidents. Please have some consideration for the most vulnerable children in Austin by reconsidering the location of this Navigation Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
My name is Ian Dilly, and my wife and I own a home in Greenbrier, East Old Turf neighborhood. Our neighbors' backyards border the proposed homeless crisis and navigation center. We've lived in this neighborhood since 2012. We have 2 kids that attend our local schools, Lively Middle School and Travis Heights Elementary. Over the last 2 years, there have been 13 murders within a mile of our house that I'm aware of. In an abandoned home a block and a half from our house, a young woman was raped and strangled to death by a person police believe to be a serial killer. The killer has not been caught. About 3 blocks from our house at Burton and Oltorf, an 18-year-old was arrested for executing a 20-year-old with a bullet to the head because he snitched. Near that same spot, 4 kids, aged 15 to 17, were charged with shooting and killing a reporter for InfoWars. The teens were stealing his car, and he tried to stop them. Just a block from our house, a man was gunned down in broad daylight. My neighbor witnessed the murder on his way to the convenience store and testified at the trial. At community safety meetings, Austin police officers have described our neighborhood as an open-air drug market. People injecting themselves with drugs are a constant presence on our streets. These drug addicts are preyed upon by violent criminals. We see young women trafficked in our neighborhood. Our neighbors have been victims of assaults, home invasions, theft, and much more. Last week, in the middle of the night, my neighbor had 2 bullets come in through their kitchen window. Addiction is a heartbreaking disease. People who live with addicts know that before you can provide help, you must protect yourself. East Old Torf is a diverse community, primarily comprised of low-income, working people. We are a community in crisis, and we are being failed by our elected leaders. We are opposed to the proposed homeless crisis center, which will likely bring hundreds of additional people in the throes of addiction or suffering from severe mental illness to our neighborhood. We urge the council to delay this vote.
Thank you, sir.
Continuing on, Camilla Knapp, Minna Holson, Dale Herron, Lynn Margulies, Brandon Willen, Erica Shadburn.
Welcome, everybody. If your name's been called, please come forward. We'll start with you, sir, if you don't mind. Please.
Good morning, Mayor and council members. My name is Dale Herron. I'm here to express my strong support for the proposed homeless navigation center at I-35 in Old Torf. I attended the community engagement sessions hosted by the Homeless Strategy Office and heard directly from Director David Gray about the thoughtful, data-driven process behind the site recommendation. I did not hear anything in those meetings that would be a showstopper for this location. We need to face the facts and not the fears. This site meets every key criterion the city identified. It's centrally located along a major transit corridor, close to hospitals, mental health care, and workforce services, and separated from schools and most neighborhoods by the interstate. The current Menchaca location has outgrown its space and sits across from Joslyn Elementary and a block away from Joslyn Park. We've learned valuable lessons at this location that we can apply. The can is being kicked down the road to today. This is where we're asking you to have the leadership to make this decision and vote for this location. Some fear the navigation center could increase crime, but data show the opposite. When the people have access to shelter, case management, public services, strong on-site management, adequate staffing, and nearby advisory group will ensure accountability and success. You want this to work. HSO wants it to work. The City of Austin wants it to work. We will make it work. Austin has spent years searching for this site, and it meets every need. And this one does just that. If we can't make this location work, we can't make any location work. We're always going to have opposition. You need to face the fears and go with facts. I respectfully ask that you vote for this location today on item 17. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Hi, my name is Mina Holson. I am in support of the new navigation center. You're going to hear there is no good place for a navigation center. Every community will tell you they don't want one because it's too close to schools and parks. It creates a burden on the homeowners, and it'll increase crime and take away feelings of personal security. But this is why we need them, and this is why we need them all over the city. Our city has seen a record increase in homelessness since I've been here, in part due to the lack of services other Texas counties provide, economic declines that are only getting worse, and diminishing help from state and federal authorities. Only with the work done by navigation centers can we begin to find remedies for homelessness and work to restore community security. Without navigation centers, our communities are far less safe. The location at Old Torf and I-35 is an ideal location for the first of what I hope will be multiple navigation centers around Austin and Travis County. It's large. It can serve clients indoors, has multiple options for creating privacy and preventing spill into the surrounding community. It's not embedded within a single-family home community. And the highway separates it from the high school. It's just a short distance from the Southbridge shelter, which has been serving our community for years and, from what I understand, has decreased the amount of crime in the area. I hope this council will approve the location for the new navigation center. For too long, the city has relied on nonprofits, churches, and volunteers to solve the ever-growing problem in Austin. Now it is time for action. We must do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kamala Knapp, and I'm here to speak in favor of the proposed Housing Navigation Center.
Ma'am, I hate to interrupt you, but you're so soft-spoken. Please,
okay.
Please put that microphone a little closer to your
Sorry.
You.
My name is Kamala Knapp, and I'm here to speak in favor of the Housing Navigation Center. I started volunteering with faith-based organizations 10 years ago who address the needs of our unhoused neighbors. On my routes with Mobile Loaves and Fishes, I have met many homeless individuals and families who have spent months or years trying to access services for help. I have also spoken to the unhoused in my neighborhood, asking how I can help. Loss of a job, domestic violence, and no access to mental health care or substance use recovery resources have prevented people from being able to get off the streets. Volunteering on Thursdays at Central Presbyterian on 8th and Brazos, I've gotten to know many people facing the same struggles. Engaging in these conversations has made me realize that homelessness is not just a statistic, it's a human experience. Behind every person living without shelter is a failure of systems. The ancillary supports the center will offer are essential to our unhoused neighbors. Access to physical and behavioral health care, connections to substance use recovery resources, and referrals to workforce development programs. Though my life is very different from the people I have served, I have never felt unsafe or threatened by the unhoused community. They need our help and compassion. Please vote yes on item 17 so our neighbors and fellow Austinites can get the services they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, we'll go to you, and then we'll come back to the other end of the table. Thank you.
My name is Lynn Margolis. I live at Timber Ridge, a condo and townhouse community bordered by Royal Hill Drive, Parker Lane, and Timber Ridge Road, just steps from the Southbridge Shelter and proposed navigation center. Except for a wooden fence separating us from the Casulo Hotel encampment, we have no protection from the daily parade of people passing through our property on foot, bicycles, and scooters, coming from the shelter or camps at Mabel Davis Park, Casulo, and elsewhere. We have constant car, unit, and mailbox break-ins and thefts, squatters, people banging on our doors at all hours, costly vandalism. My new neighbor, who works at the nonprofit Yellow Bike, providing bicycles to people in unhoused situations, had 3 personal bikes stolen from her garage, one of which she found at the shelter. I have to reroute packages because I can't risk home delivery. Walking in Mabel Davis feels unsafe, and I won't even drive through the intersection of Parker Lane and Old Thorpe because it's too scary. I definitely could not walk to my community coffee shop. Do you know what it's like to have to clean human feces off your doorstep, or find syringes or people sleeping at the bus stop 20 feet from your door, or stealing electricity and water from your building? And no, it's useless to call police because by the time they show up, if they show up, because they're unstaffed, no one will be there. And even if they are caught, nothing will happen. We know crime is up since Southbridge arrived. It's cost us thousands of damages, but the Homeless Strategy Office has manipulated statistics and messaging to make it seem as if crime has gone down since Southbridge opened. They won't tell us what metrics they've used. Some of their tightly scripted talking points are downright insulting, and their promises for better managed oversight ring hollow. We believe in the need for this center, but we are already overburdened with the fallout from having a shelter and encampments in our community. We are begging City Council to delay this decision until there is a concrete implementation plan that protects the community as well as serving the need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, we'll go to you next. We'll go to you next, and if you don't mind.
Great. Hi, my name is Erica Shadburn, and I'm a retired teacher. Taught at Texas School for the Deaf in the high school there, and then at ACC for almost 30 years. I love young people, and I'm lucky enough to live right down the street from Travis High School. As a retired teacher, I don't miss grading papers, but I sure do miss those kids. And I'm lucky to get to talk to these kids. I hang out in the church courtyard. I walk my dog through there, and she's super cute. So the kids always want to visit a little bit and pet her and stuff. And I've been talking to them lately about the Navigation Center, and they don't know anything about it. I think it's important to engage those kids because they're not across the freeway. This is a very pedestrian area. Those kids live on the east side, just across from I-35, and they cross over every day to come to school. I do think we need crossing guards there, by the way, because these kids are walking over that freeway every single day, back and forth. I watch the teen moms drop their babies off at the daycare that's there at the church. These kids are all in that area, and they live exactly where you're talking about putting this navigation center. We do need a navigation center. I think this is really important, and I'm excited about it. Let's not put it next to a school again. We've seen what happened with Sunrise. The city has not been able to protect the neighborhood from what happens when a navigation center goes on, what goes on around the navigation centers. So let's set this up for success and find a spot, hold off on this, and find a really good spot that's not close to a school. And I think if you talk to the kids, you would agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, please.
Yep. Brandon Willen. It's a bad day in Austin. It's a really sad day in Austin when somebody like myself has to take off work and come to speak to you today. Who am I? I'm a husband. I'm a father of a 10-week-old son. We are residents of Austin the last 15 years. We've lived on the corner of Burleson and Old Torf for the last 6. We pay our taxes. We contribute to the city. When I was flagged down 2 weeks ago on my walk with my dog and my child by a Fox News reporter telling me there was going to be a homeless navigation center in our neighborhood, I was immediately activated. See, I've been around these facilities before in all my places I've lived in Austin. None of them have worked. They're full of fraud, waste, and abuse. And that is the same thing David Gray found when he audited these facilities, and that's why he's changing it. I've been on the news 3 times in the last 2 weeks, and I don't understand why there was not enough alerting of this happening in our neighborhood. I've attended the community outreach meetings. I've talked with the chief of police. I've talked with APD officers that respond in my area. No one, I repeat, no one wants this in our neighborhood. Let's put it in your backyard, in your neighborhood, next to your house. You see, in the last 5 years, I've picked up needles in my backyard that homeless throw over my fence. My son will soon be playing in that backyard. I've woken up to homeless sleeping in our backyard that my wife had found when we wake up in the morning. When the police came, I said, what can I do? They said, make sure the bullet is not in his back. The 7-Eleven in Old Torf at Parker is the hardest drug corner in Austin. I've seen horrible, horrific, utterly tragic things take place there. 2-year-old children have been led around by their parents that are drug addicted and are barely able to stand up. If I, in my private job, yielded as few results and spent as much money as you, I would be fired. But you all get to keep making these decisions. If you're on the side of sensible, thought-out solutions, vote no to 17. If you actually care about addressing the root issues, vote no to 17. If you are tired of wasting taxpayers' money, vote no to item 17. If you actually...
Thank you, sir.
Continuing on.
No. Everybody stay in order.
Gonzalo Sanchez, Santo Baracato, Cameron Crow, Morgan Miranda Sanchez, Matt Stolhansky, Kim McCorkle.
Why don't you go ahead and start, and we'll go this direction.
Be happy to. My name is Cameron Crow. Appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I'm a third-generation Austinite. My sons are the fourth. My family has a long history of community service, advocating for environment, helping the homeless. My dad is a leader in the recovery community here. I live less than quarter mile from the from the proposed site, and my younger son attends a school about a quarter mile from the Sunrise site, and my older son attends a school about half a mile from the proposed site. So multiple times a day, I commute to and from making the school drop-offs. I am smack dab in the lived experience of both the existing center and the proposed center. What's very clear, no matter what goes on inside the boundary of the center, the old one or the magical new one that you're going to create, the externalities are unmitigated. They are not successfully mitigated. There's extreme examples of crime in the existing area, and there's a crisis of crime, as you've heard from many of the neighbors in the proposed area. Nobody on this against list is saying no services. We don't want to try to figure out the navigation center model. We're saying it's not in an appropriate location. Vote no on this. It is not the right location. You are moving from a residential area across the street from a school to another adjacent to a residential area and across the street from the school. Yes, it's a 15-lane freeway directly connected to that school by the primary east-west corridor of all of South Austin. Everybody knows there's hundreds of high school kids that walk across that corridor. Your ingress and egress of public transportation for the navigation center sits directly on top of the ingress and egress for the high school students. Ridiculous.
Thank you, sir. Sir, why don't you go next, and we'll just go down the row. Thank you.
My name is Matt Stolhansky, and I'm a resident of District 3, a proud child of Austin. What a great moment to be able to speak to you all and hear from you all. I've had the great privilege over the last couple of weeks, literally a week and a half since I personally found out about the proposed site location, to go and talk to thousands of Austinites. I started a petition that now has nearly 1,000 signatures of local people who are very concerned about the situation. The overwhelming voice, at least on the east side, is, we had no idea this was coming. Why hasn't anyone talked to us? Why doesn't anyone care about us? And I also understand, as a resident who lives nearby, some of the other stories. Within the first week of buying my home, right nearby this facility, my mom was stabbed in the back by a homeless person who we ended up actually trying to help save that person's life. This community is a compassionate, caring community. We keep hearing over and over again today the arguments in favor of a navigation center, and we agree. None of us disagree. We believe these services are essential. What we're pushing back against is the fact that this is so entirely rushed. You show disrespect to the members of this community by not listening to us, by not gathering real input. I also am here today as a former member of the Harvard Kennedy School faculty on economics and poverty. This is the paper that the Homeless Strategy Office handed out telling us why they think this is the right location. If one of my students handed this in, they would get an F, perhaps an F minus, for how poorly researched, for the fact that they gave themselves gold stars for this location for every one of the 6 pitiful criteria that they laid out. They did not consider impacts on local vulnerable communities. They did not consider impacts on LGBT youth. They did not consider the fact that we have one of the most immigrant-rich communities in this city. And we are asking you to consider a chart that looks more like this, where we actually consider key econometrics. We don't have the data. They keep saying this is a well-researched, data-driven process, and it is not. Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Mayor Watson. My name is Gonzalo Sanchez. I'm a homeowner, father of 2 kids that go to Travis Heights Elementary, and a business owner. Today, I want to talk to you about this so-called community engagement that we've talked about. And I was happy to hear how excited you are about community when we talk about coffee shops. But today, I think the topic is much more important than that. We heard from your words, Mayor, that your top priority is to restore trust. And we heard from the HSO office and many of the council members that they are open to feedback. What this feels is that these decisions were made long before any community was able to engage with you. And I'm here to share with you and members of this community what some of that feedback has been, or what the engagement has been. The SRCC, which is the neighborhood community on the west side of 35, from the lake all the way to 290, has come out and say that they are opposed to this plan until we have a reliable plan. On the east side of 35, we had the gentleman from Erock saying that they have come and they have opposed this. You all have seen about 1,000 members from our community sign a petition opposing this. The Travis Heights Elementary School PTA has come and said they are opposed to this. And I believe that in the past maybe week, all of you collectively have gotten about 4,000 emails from members, not just from the people that live there, but from all over Austin, saying that they are opposed to this until there's a reliable plan. There's no plan, and all the community engagement that we've been talking about has been a facade to try and push a decision that seems to have been made and seems to be supported and pushed by you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the time to let me speak, and I urge you to represent us, the very same people that voted you to have those seats today, to protect us and our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe everybody in this room at one point needed a hand up. We needed somebody to give us that hand, to get us a step, to get that push, to get us what we need.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. Could you state your name, please?
Oh, I was getting there. Sorry. Okay. That was my impact statement, right? So my name is Kim McCorkle, and I'm the outreach director with Homemade Austin, and I also represent HAP, the Homeless Advocacy Project. So the other statistic, which may even be bigger, is that across the U.S., 50% of us are one paycheck away from being homeless. So this is a real problem. So we work with over 30 service providers in Austin, and we see the need greatly every single day. The need of just, mental health, mail service, the very basics that we take for granted. At the Charlie Center, I was there a couple of weeks ago, and there was a gentleman. He was all dressed up, nice dressed, and he had lost his job, and through other circumstances, he was living out of his car. But he got up every single day. He dressed, he washed and bathed if he could, and he came to get whatever resources he could from the Charlie Center. When you're homeless, you don't have mail, so where are you going to get it? So the navigation centers provide us that. And they need those basic services that we take for granted every single day. So Mayor and council members, we look to you to vote for 17 to help people that just need that extra hand, that extra step to give them the basic needs to have their life. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Morgan Miranda Sanchez. My children, Santi 7, Paloma 4, attend Travis Heights Elementary. We live, walk, and learn less than 1 mile from the proposed navigation center. Councilmember Ryan Alter said earlier this week in the news that people are projecting their worst nightmares here. And you're absolutely right. And here's mine with a cautionary tale. My nightmare began when I read the 44-page lawsuit against Sunrise. I sobbed reading the sworn accounts from Joslyn Elementary. Children traumatized by Sunrise clients entering their campus during school hours. Rocks thrown through their school windows and 50 lethal doses of fentanyl found by APD at the park next door and their playground. Then a 10-year-old boy was struck by a used hypodermic needle. His grandmother contacted us and confirmed that he was denied HIV treatment because he weighs 67 pounds. The FDA requires a minimum of 77 pounds for all preventive treatments. According to CDC growth charts, children do not typically reach that weight until ages 11 to 12. That's when they matriculate from elementary school to middle school, which means nearly every elementary school student is medically ineligible for treatment if this happens again, my 2 children included. The HSO's own remove from schools and parks shared criteria ignores this reality, omitting 2/3 of the 6,700 students that are within 1 mile of the proposed site, including 2 elementary schools. That's more than 4,000 children left out of the safety equation. When I brought this to HSO Director David Gray on the record multiple times, digitally, electronically, his most recent response was, "Thank you for the additional information." That additional information represents 4,000 children's lives. This is reckless, and I'm not a lawyer, but it sounds like gross negligence and reckless endangerment.
Thank you. Thank you all.
The next 4 speakers asked to be called in order, so I'm going to call them in that order. Barry Jones, J.J. Ramirez, Laura Ann Martinez, and Mel LeBlanc. If y'all are here, please. Oh, I see them making their way down.
Hello, council members. My name is Barry Jones. I'm a leader at Vocal Texas. I'm a constituent of District 2, and I'm here today to support the expansion of homeless navigation centers, including this proposed location. I want to say that during my 10 years of homelessness, I used the navigation center almost daily. I went there. I stood in line for hours at a time, cheek by jowl with other homeless people. And amazingly, I was not shot during that time. I was not knifed. I was not raped. I was unarmed. Why is my experience so different from the homeowners? I use the Homeless Navigation Center in Austin to eat my meals. I applied for housing with my case manager. I used it to get medical services. Use the phone to call my pharmacy to get my meds, call my doctors. I got clothes there, and I even won a tent at the Christmas raffle, which I badly needed at the time. And that's a lot of basic needs met. Even the little things, they're really, really important. I would not have had access to these things without this navigation center. There's not a lot of places that you can go that are a one-stop shop for services. And those are so badly needed because of transportation barriers in the community. There's been times where I was waiting somewhere after a long bus ride just for a shower, and I had to choose between getting clean or eating food that day. It's important to have multiple services at one spot. Going to the center helped me meet needs at a time when I was not able to do that for myself. It also helped me feel less alone, and it can be easy and very isolating to think you're the only person experiencing a situation like this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Council. My name is JJ Ramirez. I'm an organizer at Vocal Texas. I'll be reading Laura Ann's testimony because she had a doctor's appointment today. Hello, my name is Laura Ann. I'm a leader of Vocal Texas, a constituent of District 2. She votes, by the way. She is here to express her support for the expansion of the Homeless Navigation Center. When she was homeless, the center provided her with basic needs like showers, clothing, and food. She knew that if she went there, she would be guaranteed a meal and food for that day and later, every day. She is certain without that help that she would not have eaten most days. She also wants to point out that not every homeless resident goes there. Even after getting her apartment, she didn't have enough money for groceries, basic necessities to survive, and that it was really helpful for her to be able to go back there and continue to get until she was able to be sustainable. Perhaps one of the biggest things that came out of her time at the navigation centers is that they helped her find her apartment. It was not easy due to her obstacles, such as bad credit from falling into homelessness and getting denied for not meeting those standards. On top of that, not everywhere accepts housing vouchers. So before the navigation center, she would make hundreds of calls to see where they would accept the voucher, only to get nowhere. They would have taken her. It would have taken Herculean effort to do her own research and eventually find qualifying apartments on her own. Having a caseworker on site really helped streamline things for her. She knows that there's a lot of opposition in this room, but as someone that has had direct experience with these services, she's asking to be brave and vote yes anyway. I know that on the dais that you see the needs of our community. I'm hoping that you will vote yes to address that today. Homeless people will be in your neighborhood whether the center exists or not, but the difference in supporting it is that their needs will be met if the center gets developed, and then the most important part, thanks for your time. And then lastly, on my end, there is there's a lot of anti-homeless rhetoric, like somebody got murdered doesn't mean it was a homeless person, and if you're on the side of the person who wants the cops to shoot him in the back, that's crazy.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Council. My name is Mel LeBlanc. I'm a resident of District 1, and I'm here today with Vocal Texas to express my support for the expansion of homeless navigation centers, including this proposed location. Homeless Navigation Centers offer not only vital services such as meals, showers, medication, but also the first step to getting housing. These centers aim to mitigate harm and help people navigate homelessness in our city. We need that along with right-sized housing policy. We know that the city has been working really hard to mitigate harms of homelessness and reduce the number of folks on the streets, and we need you to keep going. Not in my backyard backlash is troubling at any moment, but it is especially dangerous in our political climate. Our homeless neighbors are being criminalized, arrested, and thrown in jails, and we need to reject that by putting resources into the community. I keep hearing people asking, would you want this by your house? And as a homeowner, as someone with a family, the answer is yes. So if we can get on that in Tosh Harbor Madison, I'd like it in my neighborhood too. I have compassion for the folks in my neighborhood living outside, and I want everyone to have the things that they need to survive, and I'm cool with it being next to me. I want everyone in this room to answer a few questions in your head. If you came here today to oppose this navigation center, did you wake up housed in an apartment or a house? Did you get here in your car? Did you get to take a shower and get ready in your own bathroom? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, the chances are you have your basic needs met, and there is 6,000 people, including families and children, since we're really concerned with that, in our city that do not. Our homeless neighbors are not dangerous murderers or predators. They are our friends, our family, and community members deserving of basic needs met and homes. I have to believe that everyone in this room wants to end homelessness, and the only way to do that is to expand services and put resources into centers like these. And I want to see more centers and more money going into housing and heavily investing into Housing First Solutions. So thank you, and please vote yes on this expansion.
Thank you.
Michael Ibarra, Catherine Stinson, Jesmarie Allen.
Why don't we stop there, and that'll get us to, we'll be at noon, and that way we don't call somebody up and don't hear from them. And just for the record, what I indicated we will do is we'll go to our 12 o'clock time certain, and then we'll return, and we'll continue with this item. Please. Thank you.
I'm Michael Ibarra. I'm a resident of District 9, and I'm not here to oppose navigation services. Under the right circumstances, if I could trust them, I might not even be opposed to this one. But I'm here to ask you to delay this specific real estate purchase today until there's a binding community-informed plan to prevent another Sunrise. We all know what's happening around Sunrise right now, and I think we can all agree it's been absolutely catastrophic for the neighborhood. We keep on hearing that this time will be different because of, and here I'm quoting the mayor, because of different standards, rules, and oversight. But we don't know what that actually means. Nobody will tell us. If you look at the I-35 site, you'll see that it shares all of Sunrise's worst features. It's within 1,000 feet of schools. It literally backs onto residential yards where kids play. It's right next to green belts and parks, and it's in an area where APD, Cap Metro, AISD, and local residents have already said that they're struggling to manage the effects of an itinerant population. And so, of course, we can expect to see the same results unless the purchase is paired with a plan. So I'd ask you all to hit the brakes on this, consult with police, consult with transit, consult with teachers, parents, and neighbors, and then draft a comprehensive plan that can be presented and proposed alongside the property purchase. Without that, we're going to see the exact same crime, the same drugs, the same expensive litigation. So I'd ask you respectfully to delay this purchase and don't force it through by buying first and asking questions later. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Catherine Stinson. I'm a working mother of 2 young children, and I'm a resident of Travis Heights community. Today, I'm here to speak on item 17 and ask you to vote no for a better, safer Austin. Right now, the city has identified 3 potential sites, one of which is being voted on today for $4.3 million. What's missing from the presentation are many city-owned sites, 2 specifically that already meet stronger, safer criteria for this type of facility, including the massive Tracker Lane campus and the Tokyo Electron buildings that the city purchased for over $60 million in recent months. These properties align with proven models like the Esperanza community, which succeeds because it's not placed within a residential neighborhood or near schools. Its thoughtful location prevents increased crime and community disruption, showing that location is the foundation for both safety and program success. We may not know the perfect site yet, but we absolutely know what makes a bad one. The city has always had jurisdiction over the surrounding areas around Sunrise, yet it was unable to manage the chaos that came from that establishment. Now the city plans to move Sunrise to the I-35 location under the guise that this time it will be different. But the Austin Police Department currently has 300 unfilled positions. It is understaffed and it struggles to meet the current existing demands with an average response time of 45 minutes. And yet the city wants to repeat the same mistakes that made Sunrise such a vulnerable and unsafe location in the first place, near schools, parks, residential neighborhoods, and busy streets. This proposed site is just 0.3 miles from a high school and 0.8 miles from an elementary school, which will only worsen those problems in the area that is already strained with safety concerns and limited enforcement. Lisa Davis cares. She wants to provide a plan, but she has no resources and is unable to enforce. I'm asking you to vote no until the city fully evaluates the properties it already owns. Austin deserves better, and it starts with better planning.
Thank you, ma'am. Please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. My name is Jesmarie Allen, and I currently intern at Central Presbyterian Church. I am a mother, a former educator, and youth development coordinator, so I understand some of the concerns that I'm hearing. But I'm here to speak for item 17 because it seems to not be a homelessness person causing these violent acts. It is something else, which is a safety issue, not a homeless support issue. So I say and challenge you all to get to know a homeless person before assuming that the homeless are going to cause more chaos and unsafe neighborhood for your children. And I also encourage you all to read Matthews 25. Thank you.
Thank you. Chambers. We were discussing item 17 when we went to the noon time certain and then had the brief recess. So we will go back to item number 17, and I will turn to the city clerk to help us with that process.
Thank you, Mayor. Continuing on with 17, Elizabeth Levy, Gabrielle Libretti, Lily Hughes, Valerie Romness, Robbie Reynolds, Ted Yannick.
Very good. And just like these folks did exactly right, when your name is called, if you'll please come forward and take a seat, we'll be ready to hear from you. And ma'am, we'll start with you over to my right, to the far left, and go this direction. So if we'll start with you, and just state your name for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Elizabeth Levy Clark. I want to solve homelessness. I have volunteered at Skid Row and believe in real effective solutions, and I support navigation centers, just not ones without fully complete plans or costs. That's why I'm speaking here today against item 17's location. My husband and I bought our home in District 9 to raise our family. We don't feel safe anymore. People sleep in our alley, break into our cars, drugs at the community pool. We've supported every tax increase we believe you are acting on in our best interests, but it feels like you broke our trust. The HSO has told the statement this was a relocation, and then it wasn't. But Fox News says today it also isn't, but that it could be operated by Sunrise. So what is true? HSO promised 15% in youth funding, but then walked it back. What is true? HSO told residents they couldn't postpone this vote. That was false. What is truth? Echo data says 64% of Austin's homelessness are single men, yet we're told this is for youth and families. I'm just a bit confused by what is truth and what is not. 9 of 11 of you voted yes on nearly every homelessness item, often publicly admitting some concerns, which is great. But I ask for this, what specific services or concerns do you have that this center will provide? What's the safety plan? Did you know that the second leading cause of homeless death in Austin are by vehicular accidents? It's an anomaly in the rest of the country. Imagine that the next time you ride your motorcycle, Mr. Mayor, Well, you ride to this extremely high trafficked area. And you also said no location will ever be perfect. I agree with you. But some are better and safer, and our city already owns them. We do not feel that we need to spend $4 million yet again for another property. Districts 3 and I already reportedly have some of the highest crime in the city. Over 2,000 crimes have occurred within 2,000 feet of this location, according to Austin Police Data Crime Viewer.
Thank
Can
you.
we plan together first?
Yes, sir.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. My name is Robbie Reynolds, and I'm a native Austinite, and I live in South Austin. And I'm asking you to say no or postpone the purchase of 2401 South I-35. And the reason being until there's a clear and comprehensive plan, not just for the operations inside the walls, but for the site selection and managing the spillover effects on the community outside of them. Right now, Austin homeless strategy isn't solving the problem, it's moving it from one neighborhood to another. The city points to a decrease in newly homeless individuals, but Echo shows the homelessness has risen over 36%, from approximately 2,400 to 3,200. That's after spending nearly $300 million. We're spending more, yet the outcomes are not improving. The Homeless Strategy Office says that the site will be different, yet in the exact same meeting, they're also asking for emergency funding to replace a failed operator. There's still no proven track record or operating model for success. We've seen this before. The Sunrise Center was placed near schools, parks, and dense residential neighborhoods, and the area saw crime, vandalism, and drug activity increase. The city may not have managed this site, but it did manage the surrounding area, and that area suffered significantly. Now we're being asked to spend $4.4 million to move that same model with the same red flags and no plan for how this will be any different, and no plan for mitigating the effects in the surrounding community. Even the police chief said that her department is short 300 officers and cannot support any additional officers in the area. As residents of Austin, we want to be part of real solutions, but the city is losing our trust because money keeps being spent without results.
Thank you, sir. Please.
Good afternoon. My name is Ted Janacek. I'm here today to express my support for the new navigation center proposed for the facility located at Old Torf and I-35. I want to recognize and commend the Homeless Strategy Office for the thorough process they have followed in selecting this site. I've attended several community engagement meetings and each time have walked away impressed with their thoroughness and professionalism. The HSO evaluated multiple sites across Austin using easily understandable criteria: proximity to public transportation, access to essential services, separation from schools and daycares, and overall safety for both clients and the surrounding neighborhood. Homelessness doesn't go away by ignoring it or simply pushing it from one neighborhood to another. When done correctly and with city oversight, an essential component that is currently missing, a navigation center will hopefully reduce unsheltered homelessness and improve safety for the entire community. For those of us who reside in the Western Trails neighborhood, we have been waiting for the city to take action such as this for far too long. I urge the council to approve acquisition of this site and direct the HSO to continue to address community concerns in the operational agreements to be developed in the weeks ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Gabriella Breddy. I'm a resident of District 4, a social worker, and the capacity building manager at Texas Harm Reduction Alliance. I've been working with Austin's unhoused community since 2018. And in the past about 7.5 years now, I've seen staff at navigation centers, specifically Sunrise Navigation Center, perform miracles. All the barriers people face on the streets, Sunrise knows them well. That's why they have food, mail, showers, medical care, ID help, and more. They can navigate for mental health support, addiction recovery, and housing. In a system that can feel scattered and often broken, they have helped our neighbors overcome every hurdle to find their way home. The new location for Sunrise is a much better location. And I also want to urge people to consider that safety concerns are concerns for our entire community, and homeless people are a part of that community, not opposed to it. And I think that people here today describing people experiencing homelessness have almost depicted them as monsters trying to hurt children, like lurking around the corner. And in fact, this is not true. People who I know who have experienced the most violence in our city, the most robberies, the most attacks, these are all particularly vulnerable people because these are people who are actively experiencing homelessness on the streets, no door to lock, no place to find safety. And because of that, we need to support these people, especially our vulnerable women, children, and families on the street, which do make up a large portion of people experiencing homelessness. The few places that help people find grace, camaraderie, and safety are not the ones we need to attack, and people experiencing homelessness should not be your enemy. There are people, your neighbors and mine, and they deserve safety and help. A new space and a new navigation center will help ensure that our community, our neighbors get the help that they both need and deserve.
My name is Lily Hughes, and I am here to speak in support of the new navigation center location. I am an outreach worker, a social worker, a former neighbor of the new proposed location, and a member of District 5. One of my staff members is housed and has a full-time job thanks to the work of Sunrise. I am always inspired by his experience and the work he has done to keep learning and moving forward. He wouldn't be here without the hand that Sunrise had offered. His success story isn't isolated. Sunrise and other navigation centers have helped hundreds of people, and several clients I have worked with closely get connected to housing. The staff at Sunrise work hard to provide compassionate and holistic care that our unhoused neighbors need, not to just survive, but to thrive. The best evidence-based practice we have for solving homelessness is housing, and it takes a navigation center like Sunrise to make that solution possible. Housing reduces crime, ending poverty reduces crime, increased criminalization and ostracization of people increases crime. And I want to be clear, the rhetoric that our unhoused neighbors are criminals is not only dangerous, but it is not rooted in facts or data. That being said, I do believe it is essential to recognize and make space for the fears and concerns of the neighborhood while also naming the needs of everyone in our community, including our unhoused neighbors. The new building, I believe, will address a lot of these concerns. The structure of the building allows people to wait inside, which is what a lot of the news and media reports are saying people have issues with in the current location. The new location is across a major interstate highway, unlike the neighborhood street that separated the church from the nearby school. And it is large enough for people accessing services to wait inside. This time around, I hope we can all work together to focus on making the individual clients that access services successful while continuing to build cohesive relationships with the surrounding neighborhood. We all want community safety, and we all will find ways, if we work together, to continue to create it.
Thank you.
Continuing on, Peter Perota, Scott Lipton, Casey Powell, David Peterson, Julia S., Alan Fisher. Yes, if your name's been called, please come on down.
Please, sir, if you in the middle, if you want to go ahead and start. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here in opposition to item 17. This is not a decision, as it has been framed, about having a navigation center or not having a navigation center, and it should not be framed that way. This decision bypasses meaningful community input and continues another steamrolling of an already overburdened low-income neighborhood with no real political power. This isn't engagement, it's a predetermined outcome presented as inevitable. This approval isn't about whether this is the right place, it's about authorizing a $4 million purchase made without any public input. Homelessness is a citywide crisis, but the justification of bringing resources to where the people are creates a self-fulfilling cycle. It is a fact that services attract vulnerable populations and criminals that prey on vulnerable populations. No one is saying that the homeless people are the criminals, but criminals do like to prey on vulnerable people. While wealthier neighborhoods around Central Austin contribute nothing, clustering every new facility in lower income neighborhoods perpetuates long-standing inequities, keeping certain neighborhoods depressed and further eroding the stability of one of the last affordable neighborhoods in Central Austin. Real courageous leadership means sharing this burden citywide, even in areas with wealth and political power. It's interesting that none of the speakers speaking in favor of this actually live in District 3. All of the District 3 residents are against this. We've seen safety drop since Southbridge opened. The truth of your call statistics dropping are actually about people like me who once called all the time and stopped calling because nothing changes or no one responds. My daughter was threatened at her bus stop and can no longer walk there or wait there alone. Imagine if that was your child. There has been an open-air drug market operating at Parker and Oldtorf since Southbridge opened. Imagine if you had to see that every day on your commute.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, can you state your name? Would you mind stating your name?
For the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Scott Lipton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Alan Fisher, here to oppose this purchase. I don't think this item should be on the agenda at all without a use plan for the property. I appreciate the need for homeless services, but the city has ignored neighborhood concerns about this site. With so many questions unanswered, we expect this center would create or relocate more problems than it would solve. The dangers that the Sunrise Navigation Center brought to the South Menchaca neighborhood are well documented in lawsuit and crime data. The homeless population is not one thing. It is good, law-abiding folks who need some help, but also it is mentally unstable people, addicted people, formerly incarcerated individuals, and sex offenders, all in higher numbers than in the housed population. And that is why a center like this does not belong near homes and schools. There are homes just across a fence, as you've heard, a school within 1,000 feet, a 5-minute walk, hundreds of school kids walking by the property next door each day, riding the same buses homeless clients will ride. There are safer options. One we understand was considered on Woodbury Drive, is in a warehouse district, much further from homes and schools, still central, near Ben White and Congress, near populations in need, a 5-minute walk from the South Congress Transit Center. Why not there? The HSO doesn't want to add a fence in front, or the parking lot shape isn't ideal because a wooded lot nearby would be inviting for a homeless camp. We don't feel any of that is more important than the safety of our kids, schools, homes, and parks. And our neighborhood already has plenty of issues, as you've heard, not currently being addressed. So let's not compound them. In closing, I just ask why we would buy a $4 million building without a plan, why prioritize an option fee over child safety, why relocate a problematic center in an all likelihood a legal battle. Let's slow down and please do this right. Please vote no on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Mayor Watson and council members. My name is Julia Soa. I live 0.3 miles from the proposed navigation center site. I speak today not out of opposition to helping vulnerable people facing homelessness, but out of grave concern that this proposal as presented is deeply flawed and poses real risk to our community. I've read Mayor Watson's statement posted yesterday on LinkedIn, and I appreciate his optimism that a city-owned and operated navigation center will be different from the Sunrise Navigation Center. I understand the intention: more oversight, stricter standards, and better accountability. But respectfully, none of those assurances have been presented in writing, made enforceable, or open to public scrutiny. The city is asking you to approve millions of taxpayer dollars for a property purchase before any of those promised safeguards or operational details are defined. We're being asked to trust that they'll be there, but the public hasn't seen the actual plan that spells out how. And while I respect the mayor's belief that no site will ever be perfect, we must distinguish between imperfect and unsafe. The site sits within a walking distance of schools, parks, and homes, and sits directly off of an already high incident corridor at Oldtorf and I-35. These are not abstract worries. They are lived experiences of our neighborhood. Like others here, I have many that I can recount instances of attempted break-ins and trespassing. This is happening now, before the navigation center even opens. Concentrating additional high-needs individuals in this area without a clear operational and security plan is not compassionate, it is negligent. Before any purchase is approved, council must require 1, independent third-party conducted safety and impact assessments focused on proximity to schools and residential neighborhoods. 2, a detailed operating plan. And 3, legally binding community protections, including buffer zones, increased enforcement, and transparency. Mayor Watson wrote that we cannot get in the way of progress. I agree, but a proposal that endangers neighborhoods, children, and existing residents is not true progress. Council members, please vote to postpone this vote until protections are real, written, and publicly reviewed, or simply vote no. That is not obstruction, that is responsible governance. Thank you.
Susan Armstrong Fisher, Deepak Sarana, Mary Miller, John Fegans, Gary Cusper.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. My name is Susan Armstrong Fisher, and I do oppose this purchase. I also live 0.3 miles away from this site. And to be clear, what the speakers have said before me, the issue is not whether we supporting the homeless population. We chose to live in Central Austin. We know that there's issues with homelessness and crime and all that. We wanted to give our children and ourselves a robust view of the city. I've lived here for 30 years, and I continue to think positively of the city. But when it feels like there's a rush, when it feels like we're not being heard and there's not a plan, then that's where we're concerned. We were notified 1 month and 5 days ago, and actually we weren't notified, it was in the news. But we weren't notified by the city, we were notified by our schools, which isn't where we should be getting our citywide news. Community meetings were at the request of the neighborhoods, not the other way around. And we just want to say, if this is going to be done, let's have it done well instead of fast. You've heard about there's no written plan. Obviously, this is a very polarizing topic, and we all feel very passionate. So let's do it as a community so that we can support you and we can all feel that the right decision has been made. There's already a lawsuit in place because there's not community support, and we fear that the same might happen again. In the end, the cost will be lower if we plan it right instead of rushing to move this forward. So we just ask for a written plan to get us all on the same page, and the best alternative, remembering that we are tax-paying residents as well and deserve just as much deference as the homeless clientele. Let's do this as a community. Please vote no, or at the least to postpone so we can have a real community dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Honorable members of the council, my name is John Fagans. I'm a United Methodist pastor, and I live in District 9 in a neighborhood zoned to the Travis High School, and my family moved here in January. For the previous 12 years, I led a Hispanic church in the west side of San Antonio, Texas, that was very close to the Haven for Hope project, a homeless response center in San Antonio. I want to commend the council for taking steps to better serve the unhoused and hold up the Haven for Hope as a model of a successful approach. I speak against the action today at the Oltorf location because I worry the site is too small and too close to an at-risk student population. A lot of the speeches here today have been by advocates and neighbors frustrated with collateral effects of exceeding capacity, but also by people that sincerely and legitimately care for the unhoused population. So if it's too small where the city's proposing to buy, then the similar effects of Sunrise could manifest themselves over there, because that's happening because the need exceeds capacity. That student population at Travis High School is a 95% non-white student population, 80% economically disadvantaged. And this is going to put, if it overflows and the capacity exceeds, there's going to be a lot of interaction between those commuting students and the clients of the new proposed navigation center. Both the unhoused and at-risk students deserve a comprehensive and well-planned approach in partnership with nonprofits, medical institutions, and mental health institutions. Austin has the mind and the means and heart to match or surpass what San Antonio has done. I pray that if you can beat us on tacos, you can beat us on this too. Do well and plan something amazing. Study the Haven for Hope. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Yes, sir. Please.
Hi, my name is Deepak Sarana. I live 0.4 miles, less than a 10-minute walk from the proposed shelter. I'm opposed to 17. I've lived in Austin for 20 years. I did my MBA here. I work as an executive in multiple tech companies. employing hundreds of people, including people who used to be homeless. Like, I care about this. And I've lived in the neighborhood for like 10 years. And this is my first time speaking here, and I'm doing it because I deeply care about Austin and our community. I work from home. I see the area every day through my window. I live just catty corner from Travis High School. And I see all the parents picking up the kids. I see kids walking to and from school, crossing over Oltorf. Many go to the Starbucks and the 7-Eleven, and they just hang out. And increasing the homeless population in that area by having the shelter in this very densely populated area, to me, is just not thoughtful. To me, it's going to increase the presence of the homeless individuals there, where our kids walk, play, and hang out. And this isn't theoretical. Like, I see it, our neighbors see it. A lot of the people that are speaking here are literally my neighbors. And I think this is a tough pill to swallow. What we're asking for here is just a written plan, some meaningful community input, and a proper impact study. And let's just delay or kind of abandon this purchase, but at least delay it. Let's just get a plan together and get more community feedback, and then proceed. We need solutions, but they just need to be responsibly planned and safely located. I love this city. I built my career here. I've literally lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else in my life. I don't plan on moving. I probably should participate in like local government more. To me, let's just be thoughtful around this. And so please vote no. Thank you.
I have a remote caller I'm going to call right now. Will Hyatt.
Okay. Hello, Mayor Watson, Council. We at househomeless.org, I'm president of househomeless.org, and we are advocating for the relocation of the Homeless Navigation Center because of the critical nature of that center. It is a priority to get it. And no matter where it goes, it's necessary, highly necessary. I commend the person that suggested that we read Matthew 25 in this consideration and do the best we can to get that best location. Right now, we know that heads that are sharp and experienced have picked this location. We back Pastor Mark and the HSO and David Gray, and they have thought this thing through. So it seems like the best strategy forward at this time, and we back that. It could be that other developments take place and it's moved later, but right now it's an emergency setting and a critical location decision to be made. So we ask that the council prayerfully consider this decision and make the right decision and get this placed now for the betterment of the whole community and for our most vulnerable citizens in this community of Austin. Austin's a beacon of light, and this problem is not going away. It is critical. We've been working the floods for months now, and there's a new face to homelessness too. So this problem will increase. We need to get in front of it, and this is the next move to make. We just want to support and thank the council and the mayor for what they've done for affordable housing and other solutions, and to turn this into a transformative setting where people that can work will, and those that get a disability check can afford to have a place to live based on that check. And we just praise the Lord because he is working through.
Thank you. Time has expired. Back to in person, Jennifer Rocho, Ed Miller, Ard Ardelin, Russell Court, Steve McCleary.
If your name's been called, please come forward. Why don't you go ahead and start since you were first?
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Russell Cordy, and I live in Travis Heights with my wife and children. I want to make it clear that I'm opposed to the city's acquisition of the property, but also that I support the city's efforts to address homelessness. And I agree that with many of the speakers in support of the issue today, that navigation centers are an effective way for the city to provide support for those who need it most. But the question before us today is not whether to support addressing issues related to homelessness or the efficacy of navigation centers. The question is whether to rush into the purchase of this specific property without engaging in good faith with the surrounding community to acknowledge the challenges and negative externalities we know will come from the site and make commitments related to keeping community, neighborhoods, businesses, schools, and parks unharmed from this impact. The mayor made a public statement in support of the acquisition of the property yesterday. In his statement, several claims were made. Hard decisions must still be made. Kicking the can down the road doesn't really make the hard decision easier. I trust the HSO staff. No location will ever be perfect. These statements are unfortunately a continuation of the HSO strategy of making empty statements that ignore serious concerns and obvious truths. The site will come with negative externalities. Without a clear plan, neighborhoods, parks, schools, and businesses closest to the site will be impacted. And frankly, these statements are insulting to those looking for substantive engagement on this process. I agree that hard decisions must be made, but they require more than just trust or hope. Approving a purchase today without appropriate planning and commitment is the can kick. It shifts the risk from today's agenda to tomorrow's neighborhoods. Once the site is owned, the leverage to demand concrete safeguards drops, and the burden of problems falls on the adjacent blocks. When the mayor says we have to trust the HSO, I want to share that trust. But trust is earned through written public commitments before we purchase the property, not after.
Thank you, sir. Why don't we go, sir, why don't you go next, and then we'll go to you, sir.
All right, sir.
Just state your name for the record, please.
Yeah. My name is Steve McCleary. I live in District 9 and just a short distance away from from Travis Elementary. And most of my thoughts have already been said. I don't think anyone is opposed. Everyone supports doing something for the homeless, of course. I don't think there's any dispute, though, that there's been serious problems around Sunrise as it has existed. And I don't think that there's been any real progress made in dealing with those problems, those crime and so forth. I think that to simply move those problems across town is irresponsible and it's unconscionable. And my objection, and I'm not even prepared to say that this is a bad site for it. There hasn't been enough study to really determine that. Current Sunrise serves 300 people a day, 250. I'm not sure this site is big enough to handle all that. But mainly, my objection to doing it today is there's no comprehensive plan, and there's been very little thought done about the public safety issues. It's not right to move these problems across town and put them in a different neighborhood that's already having some problems. And so if the public safety issues need to be addressed, there needs to be a real plan. HSOs come up with a couple of suggestions, a neighborhood agreement, whatever that is, and something about, and boots on the ground, some additional staff, which is not there. And that may or may not come about, but that's just a plan to have a plan. So my position is that this should be delayed at this time in order to address the public safety issues and see if it's going to work here.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon on the dais. I'm Ed Miller. I'm a longtime Austin resident, living in District 2, working in District 3 for more than 30 years. I'm executive officer of the EROC group. I do community outreach because I've worked in the East Riverside community for the 30 years I've been here, beginning as a professor at ACC Riverside, leading a reentry program for ex-offenders coming back to the community. Many of them were homeless. Some were creative enough to learn how to live on a city bus overnight. Others at the golf course across from the campus. so they could be there on time each morning. Let me be clear at the beginning. I am in favor of homeless services. Question's not whether to serve. The question is where to serve. We have already seen what happens when you draw 200 or 300 potentially drug-addled, mentally debilitated people together at a location in the midst of schools and homes to provide services. The proposal here is to simply move it from one residential neighborhood with schools to another. We've already seen what that does. If you move the problem from one location to a similar location, nothing changes. We suggest that you follow the mayor's advice. There is no perfect location, but there are better.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, all speakers for item 17 have been called.
All right, thank you.
May I please speak? I signed up.
If you signed up to speak.
Is that
your name
Jennifer
called?
Robichaux?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I did call you.
All right, so we're still on the item, so you can speak on this item.
Thank you very much. I apologize for being late from recess. I was picking up my kid from school. I am Jen Robichaux, and I am speaking in opposition to the new Homeless Navigation Center purchase at this time. I think it's been really wisely noted that the homeless are vulnerable. And from what we've heard from residents in this neighborhood, this really is not a safe place for people who are already struggling with issues like drug abuse and otherwise just being incredibly vulnerable to the crime that's in the area. I've also observed that there has been a glaring disregard of meaningful public input through this process. The requests for input appear more for show than for function. For instance, the town hall meeting where hundreds showed up and the council members did not. This represents an avoidance of facing the feedback. And I've heard of listening sessions that blocked controversial questions and closed-door follow-ups that were held at inconvenient times and places and that excluded interested community members. Moreover, we have community safety concerns that have remained unaddressed. We've heard rumors that the Sunrise Center, which has been plagued with reports of loitering, violence, theft, and litter near Jocelyn Elementary, would close due to these issues, but there's no clearness, there's no clarity on the truth of this matter, and we're not really sure where this is going. What we do know is that the Sunrise Community Church has active city contracts totaling over $2 million, including non-competitive awards, and they even donated $5,000 to the campaign to raise our taxes on residents. And this looks like a conflict of interest. All the while, the city is pushing ahead with this new site without carefully considering the community feedback. It's near Mabel Davis Park, Big Stacy Pool, and public schools. Residents, community members want to know what will prevent encampments from overrunning our pool. This is our year-round free pool that many of us enjoy using. What is going to prevent them from overrunning our parks and buses?
Thank you, Ms. Robichaux.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
That's all speakers.
Members, that concludes all of the speakers that have signed up to speak on item number 17. I'll recognize Councilmember Duchin, who pulled item number 17 from the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to postpone this item for 30 days.
Members, you've heard a motion by Councilmember Duchin. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? There being no second, the motion fails. I will entertain a motion with regard to item number 17, and then we will have discussion on item number 17. Councilmember Alter moves approval of item number 17. Is there a second by Councilmember Ellis? Now, if you want to be recognized, I'm going to recognize Councilmember Qadri, because I just saw him leaning forward. Councilmember Qadri, Councilmember Velasquez, I told you I was going to recognize you, and I apologize. Councilmember Velasquez and then Councilmember Qadri.
Colleagues, today I'm going to be voting no on item 17. I'm voting no not because I oppose the mission, not because I oppose the resources, and it sure as hell is not because I'm turning my back on our unhoused neighbors or my faith that commands me to serve those most in need. I'm voting no because I have personally not had enough time with this item. I'm voting no to the process and to the pace, and I'm voting no because I have not had sufficient time to dispel the rampant information surrounding this issue. With that said, should this item pass today, I'll be the first one to roll up my sleeves. I'll be the first one to work alongside HSO, alongside my colleagues, alongside District 3 to ensure that the entire community, both housed and unhoused, are at the table shaping this process. Should this pass, this is going to be a citywide lift, and I will be calling on each of you, my colleagues, to help carry the weight with compassion, conviction, and all necessary resources. Excuse me. And just to touch on something that there's a theme that's been going on here, as we move forward, we cannot lose the humanity of this issue. We cannot lose the humanity of a mother of a Linder student in the Old Torf neighborhood, a mother who is housing insecure and could benefit from these resources. We can't lose the humanity of the neighbor in Greenbrier who welcomes the effort but simply asks that we address crime and safeguard those already vulnerable. And we cannot lose the humanity at the center of all this, and that is that we are helping human beings, Austinites and neighbors, find shelter, find stability, and avoid the tragedy of homelessness. Because when we act out of that place, when we act out of that humanity, there are no sides, there are no winners or losers. It's a city coming together to take care of its own. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Qadri and Councilmember Alter.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. This is the first navigation center the city has brought forward during my time on the council, and I want to start off by recognizing the work of Director Gray and HSO. Their persistence has rebuilt coordination and accountability across our homelessness response system, and it's making a measurable difference. The Ending Community Homelessness Coalition's 2025 State of the System report shows that for the first time in 5 years, fewer people in Austin are becoming homeless. That progress isn't accidental. It's a result of data-driven, compassionate work led by HSO and our nonprofit partners. That's why this vote is so difficult. I'm voting no today, not because I oppose creating a navigation center, but because I believe we need stronger community engagement, clearer operations planning, and a timeline that ensures a project succeeds. We have to get this right the first time. This year's budget reflects that shared commitment: $925,000 for 12 new outreach positions, $2.6 million for additional EMS units, and $2.5 million to expand mental health crisis response. We also launched the Austin First pilot, the first of its kind in the nation, bringing teams together for high acuity emergency calls. These investments show what's possible when we act together and with care. This navigation center represents another step, connecting people to services faster and shortening the time they spend on the street. I think about a 22-year-old former foster youth who slept outside of City Hall for nearly a year before we could get him help. A center like this could have changed that outcome. And as a new father, I carry that with me. We have too much at stake not to act, but also too much at stake not to get this right. We can have honest, difficult conversations without hostility because we all share the same goal: getting people off the streets and into housing. Thank you.
Councilmember Alter, followed by Councilmember Duchin.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who came out today, both for and against. I know how deeply difficult this issue is. I know how deeply personal it is when you're talking about your home, your neighborhood, your kids. There are few things as personal that we deal with, and so I completely understand the passion that we've seen here today, and I appreciate you not just being here today, but throughout the process. I know there have been a number of community meetings that I know many of you have attended, taken time out of your day to do that, and so I just want to recognize all the work that y'all have done to get here, and I want to both tell my colleague who said he's going to roll up his sleeves, I will stand right next to you and help with that work, because this is important citywide work and it's something we all need to do. As Councilmember Qadri just mentioned, we have been investing on a holistic plan, and we have seen the results of that. You know, under your leadership, Mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem as the chair of the Public Health Committee, we have seen incredible results. And there are many things we need to do. This is one piece of the overall plan, and it is, as identified, something that we need in other areas of the city. Not one place should have all the services for everyone who needs it. And that is what HSO has identified, and this is the first step in that process. But we are going to take the lessons we have learned the past many years and get this right, and I'm committed to work with my colleagues so that that happens. And I just want to take a last moment. I know Councilmember Cadre, Councilmember Velasquez, you two have made yourself incredibly available attending a number of these listening sessions, and just want to commend your work on this because I know how hard it's been, and you have been the model of how you get into community and speak with everybody who has concerns. Even at the end of the day, if not everyone agrees on an issue this tough, making yourself available, I think is very important. So I just appreciate the work y'all have done.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Duchin.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd hoped to give this a little bit more time to bake based on a lot of community outreach that we had got. I think probably well over 400 emails as of today, amongst other conversations. And a lot of that's because I feel like my office at least has about 2 weeks to try and make sense of a lot of details for what's ultimately going to be probably a very critical piece of our homeless solution, but also a critical impact on a neighborhood. And when I think about those details, I'm still confused to some extent about the nature of this navigation center, whether it's a housing navigation center, whether it's going to have ancillary and support services, what's going to happen to the original Sunrise location based on the decisions that are made here, and what sort of public safety and transit solutions do we need to identify or perhaps even implement as part of this. And I just worry that if I'm unclear on this, then I worry the average citizen, especially the impacted folks, may be more confused than I am. And so when I step through some of the things that have been shared with us over the last 2 weeks, I want to obviously commend HSO for the State of Homelessness Navigation Center document they share with us and the work they put into that. And yet, even in there are things that I struggle to make sense of. Some of them you've heard from today from testimony, but a lot of what I would call imprecision, things like whether they are, criteria, whether they're close or far or yes or no or too costly or acceptable. I would expect going forward that we could figure out a way to quantify some of those things so that myself and others better understand how we make guidelines for making smart decisions for these kind of critical locations. We also reached out to APD to try and get some crime data. We got that finally at the end of yesterday. And I'm happy to share that with my colleagues and others, but it's just been a process just to try and get informed on this that leads me to be cautious about what we're doing here, especially in light of the communication. And then the last two things I'll just add very quickly are, I think we've heard some complaints today, some questions about the process. And again, I want to commend both my colleagues and HSO for acting very quickly, having a lot of community engagement over the last couple of weeks. But I still sense there's additional demand there. And I also sense that if, again, like where I'm at, questions are unanswered and perhaps security or other plans aren't in place yet, those are things that I would hope that we could work through to try and achieve in the coming weeks. Read an interesting Substack article the other day from a former Democratic congressman and U.S. Army secretary who basically said it's not economical and it's not political crises that we're facing, but it's a crisis of trust. And so my hope is that, and my hope to buy more time or to continue to work the issues with the community would be to figure out how do we build in that trust, regardless of our other feelings of the project, regardless of how this ultimately plays out. I'd like to see us, the Dias, City Hall, consistently work with communities on not just this issue, but a lot of other issues in a way that cultivates trust going forward. And then finally, my other concern was just the scope of this. You're buying if I had to buy a $4.5 million home in 2 weeks, I'd try and figure out some of the things that I'm confused about. And right now, I'm not in that place. So all to say, I've got some reservations about this. I'm grateful I've got a lot of colleagues that I think may be far better informed than I am, but that was where a lot of my hesitation was coming from. And with that, probably intend to join my colleagues, council members Quadri and Velasquez, in not supporting this right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Members, there being no further discussion, I'll call for the vote on the item. All those in favor of approving item number 17, please raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Members, there being 8 votes in favor and 3 votes in opposition, those being Duchin, Velasquez, and Kadri, the motion carries. Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. We appreciate all of the input, and we will work very hard to make sure that this lives up to the appropriate standard.